All right. Good morning, and thank you, Martine. You know, while it's tragedy that brings us all here together, I'm happy to stand here knowing that these dangerous individuals are no longer on the streets and they won't be able to harm anyone else. The Los Angeles Police Department and our partners here today, we're committed to investigating all cases like this, and it's regardless of someone's background or socioeconomic status. And just with all of our cases, this investigation was done impartially. We let the facts drive this investigation, and those facts led us to a group of individuals who were responsible for supplying and distributing to Mr. Perry narcotics that led to his unfortunate and untimely death. The group standing here today, it's a prime example how our partnerships and our collaboration can yield meaningful results. I want to thank LAPD, our Robbery Homicide Division, who's standing in the back there, the U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada and his team, the DEA and her team, as well as the U.S. Postal Inspection Service and their team for their hard work, diligence, and real patience. Now, I know people think this took a long time, but there was a lot of work, a lot of investigative strategies that went into this to make sure that there's a solid case and that we can pursue this in the courts. Our relationship with our federal partners, it helps us ensure that these criminals will have meaningful sentences and be an example for anyone that is willing to risk or jeopardize distributing and supplying unlawful or narcotics to anyone. And I just really want people to know that that is the message. You cannot get away with this regardless of your background or socioeconomic status. Breaking the law is breaking the law, and you are dangerous and you are jeopardizing lives. So thank you all of my partners for being involved in this and bringing us to where we are at today. And at this time, I'd like to introduce DEA Administrator Ann Milgram.
Good morning. Today we announce charges brought against 5 individuals who together are responsible for the death of Matthew Perry. Each of the defendants played a key role in his death. They falsely prescribed, sold, or injected the ketamine that caused Matthew Perry's tragic death. In the United States, most forms of ketamine are only approved by the Food and Drug Administration for anesthesia. A nasal spray version is approved for treatment of depression, but only in a certified medical setting. Here, Matthew Perry sought treatment for depression and anxiety and went to a local clinic where he became addicted to intravenous ketamine. When clinic doctors refused to increase his dosage, he turned to unscrupulous doctors who saw Perry as a way to make quick money. Dr. Plasencia and Dr. Chavez violated the oath they took to care for their patients. Instead of do no harm, they did harm so that they could make more money. Without performing any medical evaluation or monitoring, they supplied Matthew Perry with large amounts of ketamine in exchange for large sums of money, charging Perry $2,000 for a vial that cost Dr. Chavez approximately $12. As Matthew Perry's ketamine addiction grew, he wanted more, and he wanted it faster and cheaper. That is how he ended up buying from street dealers who sold the ketamine that ultimately led to his death. In doing so, he followed the arc that we have tragically seen with many others, whose substance use disorder begins in a doctor's office and ends in the street. Perry turned to his street dealer, Eric Fleming, who sourced his ketamine from a drug trafficker known as the Ketamine Queen, Jasveen Sangha. The ketamine supplied by Sangha would ultimately be the dose that took Matthew Perry's life. Sangha knew that the ketamine she supplied could be deadly, since in 2019 she had sold ketamine to Cody McLaury, who died at the age of 33. But despite this knowledge, she continued to sell ketamine and methamphetamine throughout Los Angeles. Matthew Perry's journey began with unscrupulous doctors who abused their position of trust because they saw him as a payday. And it ended with street dealers who sold him ketamine in unmarked vials. The desperation that led Perry to these individuals was not met with help, as it should have been from the doctors, but instead it was met with exploitation. Exploitation by those who should have guided him toward help. This betrayal of trust is at the heart of this tragedy. Since 2023, DEA has investigated nearly 500 drug poisoning and overdose cases just like Matthew Perry's. We run a national initiative known as OD Justice, where we work with our state and local law enforcement partners to conduct investigations after someone has passed away. And it is important to note that the national model we today have in every 50 state across the United States is based on the work that started here in Los Angeles. We began this work with our partners in the Los Angeles Police Department and with other local police departments and sheriff's offices in California, in the Los Angeles area, and with the U.S. Attorney's Office. And today it stands as our national model for this critical work. Together, as part of OD Justice, we work to bring justice for the lives that have been lost and to stop others from dying. Regardless of the size or scope of a drug distribution network, the DEA will work nonstop to uncover and disrupt this illegal activity, and in this case, the deadly activity. I want to close by noting that Matthew Perry's death is not just a tragic overdose. After his 2020 book openly discussed his struggles with substance use disorder, Matthew Perry told podcast host Tom Power that he would prefer to be remembered for helping people rather than for his work on Friends as Chandler Bing. And so perhaps what has happened and the tragic details that we are discussing today can help others and save lives. I want to thank the Los Angeles Police Department, the United States Postal Inspection Service, and the United States Attorney's Office in the Central District of California for their tremendous partnership and their outstanding dedication to this case. I also have the privilege of serving every single day with the men and women of the DEA, and today I want to particularly recognize the outstanding work of our Los Angeles Field Division, as well as our diversion investigators who tirelessly worked on this case to bring justice to the victims and the families. Thank you. It's now my privilege to introduce Postal Inspector Shields.
Good morning, and again, welcome. I'd like to thank U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada for his tireless dedication to protecting the residents of the Central District of California and his partnership with the Postal Inspection Service. As the nation's oldest law enforcement agency, the Postal Inspection Service has had a long, proud, and successful history of combating criminals who misuse our nation's postal system and cause harm to our employees and customers. This is our mission. In this case, our agency, in partnership with the Los Angeles Police Department, the Los Angeles Drug Enforcement Administration, and the U.S. Attorney's Office, worked to seize, search, and analyze evidence that has culminated in arrests and a dismantling of the group that is responsible for providing the ketamine and the reported contributed to the death of Matthew Perry. In this case, these individuals knowingly and willfully distributed ketamine to Mr. Perry as he struggled to overcome addiction, which ultimately led to Mr. Perry's tragic demise. Unfortunately, every day in this country, families are grieving for their loved ones lost to drug overdoses. We want these families and the American public to know that the Postal Service will not be an unwitting accomplice to anyone using the U.S. mail to distribute illegal drugs or drug paraphernalia. The Inspection Service continues to work tirelessly to rid the mail of illicit drugs, fight drug trafficking and the associated violence, preserve the integrity of the mail, and most importantly, provide a safe environment to postal employees, customers, and the American public. The Postal Inspection Service is turning the tide against drug dealers. Detecting and stopping their shipments is only the beginning. Tracing illegal drugs back to the source and shutting them down is the ultimate mission. Once again, a tremendous thank you to our partners in federal and state and local law enforcement, as well as the U.S. Attorney's Office, for their continued collaboration and hard work in support of this mission. Thank you.